On this 7th day of March 2025, WURUDET and other human rights organizations, including King 4, Uganda Law Society, LWF, ADRA, Kiwepi, are here to talk about intimate partner violence, and we have been triggered by the instances that have been reported in the media and the instances we see in the community. Today we are sharing some of the national statistics we have on this, and we want the community to know what intimate partner violence is. These are acts of physical aggression, psychological harm that happen to people who are relating. It could be in a home, it could be outside the home, but these are people who are either dating, married, separated, cohabiting, or divorced. So these are instances that one has not consented to. They can go from denial of economic rights, they could go from fighting, but the most brutal one we have witnessed is killing. And we are noting that sometimes these people who go through intimate partner violence, they run to specific people for help. They run to their parents, but we do not know how to support them. For example, the case that we had in Lamo just last week, this young lady ran to her mother's house, but the mother left her with the perpetrator. So we are saying, as civil society organizations, as government, we need to come up and educate communities on how to handle these cases. We have call to actions for different stakeholders on sensitization. We have calls on arresting the perpetrators, access to justice. We have calls on sensitizing people on the referral pathways. What should you do when this happens to you? Who can you go to? Who can you talk to? What can the LC1 do? We have discussed a lot in terms of how do we look at access to justice, both from the informal side and the formal side. In conclusion, as WURUDET and King for another member human rights organizations in the Acholi sub-region, we are reaffirming our commitment to ending intimate partner violence. This does not mean that we will do it alone. No, we will work with local leaders, with our government, and with other like-minded organizations to ensure that there is access to justice for survivors. And we will not give up, we'll remain steadfast, and we'll continue this collective effort. Women in the districts where we work, like Lamo, we will be there physically in all the celebrations for both the district and the refugee community. So we have drama groups that have very educative messages on women's rights, on equality, women land rights. So we'll definitely be there. And our ED is also in Chankwanzi tomorrow for the national celebration. So yes. As WURUDET, we have a message, first of all, of appreciating how far women have come. Women have come a long way. We have done a lot with support from our partners, with support from our families, and we appreciate how far we've come and how far we still have to go. And we also continue to work together with other women out there. We continue to work together with our partners, because as women, we are the backbone of this country. We are mothers, we are sisters, we are wives, and apart from our reproductive roles, we have other roles that we play to our country as well. So our message is we still have a long way to go, and that's why we are talking about intimate partner violence. We need to do away with things that end our lives, that make our influence less, that make it hard for us to achieve our goals as women. We also call upon the government to continue supporting us in terms of the programming, budget allocations for programs to enhance women's movements and all the other things that women may not be able to achieve on their own.
I speak on behalf of Kitgum NGO Forum, where I am chairman of the executive committee. Today, the 7th of March, 2025, one day before the International Women's Day, a group of NGOs led by WURUDET under the auspices of Kitgum NGO Forum came together to issue a statement against the rising incidence and gravity of one form of violence, which is known as intimate partner violence. This is violence that occurs between people who are in intimate relationship, whether they are cohabiting, whether they are married to each other, whether they are separated, whether they are divorced. It happens to both present and former partners in having a relationship. we were alarmed by the rising incidence of violence between people who are in intimate relationships. Nationally, you know, the annual crime statistics that the police have just released for 2024 shows that up to 14,126 people suffered some form of domestic violence last year, and almost 75% of that were female. And it was not only adults, but also juveniles were also part of that. The National Survey of Violence in Uganda also last year had found out that intimate partner violence, which is a precursor to femicide, the murder, the killing of a partner, that is what femicide is, was at 45%, and in actually, just like poverty, the rate of intimate partner violence was also at 78%. So as a collection of NGOs, we came together and issued call for action. We have taken recognition of cases that have been reported in Kitgum and Amor. You remember that late last year, a 20-year-old man murdered his wife from her parents' home just here in Lalano. Just last week, you remember also that there were reports from Lamore where a young man also killed his wife and is still on the run. The police is looking for him to be apprehended so that he faces the law. Just 2 or 3 days ago, we had also a report from Lalikan in Orom that a wife fought her husband, and I think the police has not yet included or concluded this conclusively, but there's a suspicion that the man could have died out of the results of the fight. So we brought out some calls. The organization condemned in the strongest terms all forms of violence, especially IPV. We also call upon the different arms of government, from LC1 to the police and all the other stakeholders, to take up their responsibilities and make sure that surveillance is tough, the perpetrators are arrested, and then are successfully prosecuted. We also acknowledge the resource constraint that the police is going through, so we call upon our MPs who are in charge for allocation of resources nationally to ensure that when the time for budget comes, the police and the other jailor sector actors get the money that they want. We also recognize that these cases of aggravated domestic violence, like in IPV, have their roots in the family. They have their roots in the family. They have their roots in the clan system. So we have called upon Kekal Kwarachole, the clans, and all the heads of households, to take up their roles and ensure that they protect partners who are under threats in their relationships, and make sure, because you will hear that in all these cases where there was aggravated violence between partners in love, the clan was aware, the head of the household was aware, but nothing to have seemed to have happened. We also call upon religious leaders, cultural leaders, and the media, those of you in the media, that we keep on escalating the voice of people who are suffering in intimate relationships. We begin to speak about it. Cultural leaders, whenever you get the opportunity, elected leaders, whenever you get the opportunity, the media, whenever you get the opportunity to speak against intimate partner violence and provide people with the knowledge to act on that through sensitization. We also challenge all duty bearers to respond appropriately with urgent needs. But we also realize that there seems to be need to sensitize people to identify signs. You will realize in the case of both these cases where young women were killed in a relationship, we realized that there had been a lot that had done. People threatening violence, but no action is taken. In the formal law, if you say, I'm going to kill you, it is taken as a crime because they're threatening violence. But traditionally there, most of these people who have died have been crying out, but nothing seems to have happened. So we also send out calls to duty bearers to make sure that people learn how to identify the signs so that we act on those signs and we avert the violence. And we finally also encourage people. There are what they call referral pathways. When these forms of violence take place, you are supposed to report. Are you going to report to your pastor? Are you going to report to the catechist so that the catechist takes it up? Are you going to report to the local police? Are you going to put together the people who are responsible traditionally? The father of your husband. Have you put them down so that they can take up the matter? But finally, we also sent out a warning that the judicial system should send out a very strong warning, a strong action against people who have been found to have negotiated away criminal acts of violence. Because although the government is promoting what they call ADR, Alternative Dispute Resolution, this does not include criminal acts of assault on your partner, of sexual violence. You know, there are cases that can be resolved amicably by the clan, but they must not be criminal in nature. And we think that most of these IPVs, intimate partner violence, are criminal in nature, and they should not be allowed to be negotiated. These were some of the calls that have been sent out. At the end, the members resolved to work together, individually and collectively, to make sure that we work together with other partners in the community, we work together with other partners in government, in local and national, we work together with the community members to make sure that we work towards reducing intimate partner violence to zero. Because it is a surprising form of violence. It happens in a circumstance that tradition and the law think a person is in security. Someone thinks that the woman is more secure in the presence of the husband. Someone thinks that a husband is more secure in the presence of the wife. But this is where the violence occurs. And that is why we think it is a very serious issue that must be dealt with, because it is surprising. Thank you.
Wanani tiji mapul makelo tim german nyoko man mekina yana lok me chan maino ka chan tie ot la cho ki dago pegi ber mabe dago no te blaming chao kai la cho pikelo chan la cho be chao kai te blaming dago pikelo chan chente mete me lok me yot kom chente mete me lok me gina chama chente mete me lok me kwan endo no chene pe si don ka kanyo you ni joare ni chao kai pegi ngeo kit meter lok en mabe chi o we tele o we lwen ipe man wano lego ni ka unity ot la cho ki dago mira ne ni uno yo mo me yele we gi ping beri chingu we po o i kare unyo e roma no u chero ko ni ka lwen kinu mano ke la wano ke lo to lok mu kana ana e nyom mi chon mano ne tien ma fut pe gu te ki mabe utina nyer ka wobe gi chero do ngo ka beri ot ma cha la cho ki dago mano wi gi fut po te ki me chiero lok me ot enano enini kelu tele mapol kelu lwen kelu to nano gino ke ma wanene timaraj ene kiet jo mu kene i lok me ma mai no ni in la choy mete lek da ga lega da be mete lek la choy lega to the extent mai no ni la cho pe ye ni da go bet ki chime pian ko ni chagware no ke chona ki lok me chim anu ni da go be ki tung chel pe ye ni chware u chung ko ni ki ngamo no ti chona u nyori wa ko no ti chona chi ka wondong u ye me be ot pe twe la wor ma bu u be da gonya i ot wore na chel mir na ni ene ti ki chike bo la wore me na ne gi be ot no be ot ku chung ma tek en ga ya bo le la wore le ga chi enu ni o ko ni lwen o ko ni kele wi o ko ni to ma ga e gin ma partners go na chalo pe ma dit ma kelu tim ger ke ko e ot wano ni goro tie bot dul pamiri yome gwago yiglo ka chela nyoni data malupe ki rome tim gero matika time community pian data ene konyawa menen ki response ngo magi kate kere me chopo perman chika data peti mabe wego no dokka cho perman bero tek enano chi walego ritual ni miru tote meneno ni data tie mu pong maromi okero ki dul mo papat meneno kirme dokka cho perman mengo metim gero